Hey everyone, in this video I want to go over different ways to create modules in your project other than using the new module wizard in Android Studio or IntelliJ. Embracing multi-module architecture comes with some overhead around creating new modules. Big surprise. Using the new module wizard in Android Studio quickly becomes an unscalable solution as your project becomes more and more customized. Look at your Gradle files. It's likely you have a lot of common setup ranging from SDK versions that maybe reference project-defined variables or common dependencies. All of these things are things you have to add after creating a new module from the wizard. We can fix that by using our own script to create new modules. For my projects, I use a Python script and a folder of template files for each type of module. You can do it however works best for you, but for myself, I have a dedicated script for each module type, for example, Android or Kotlin multi-platform. I've explored using a single script with different arguments to define the module type, but it's just simpler in my opinion to have one dedicated for each, and support minor tweaks via arguments. Let's first look at the templates I have. This is for my Android library module generator. I have SDK versions defined in a build source module. I wrap sections related to compose in markers that I can filter for in the script, and we'll look at this once we dig into the Python script. This allows me to add an argument when running that script to optionally add compose related dependencies and setup sections. Then in the dependencies section, I have the most common dependencies that I'll use. Here I lean towards requiring the removal of unneeded dependencies after creation rather than adding more script arguments to make the generation ultra granular. This is a balance you'll have to strike for yourself. I personally find removing lines here and there to be low enough friction, especially when compared to needing to add lines. For example, not all of my library modules require Dagger, so I can just remove these. The other templates for my current project aren't anything special. A super simple gitignore file and the default ProGuard rules file. The manifest is generated completely in script. It's just a one-liner, so there's no template file for that, though that is something you could definitely add if it suits your needs better. Now let's jump to the script. I use argparse to define the script arguments, which for now are just the module name and whether or not the module uses compose. We define the root, which should be just one directory up from where this script lives. Next, we have values for the template file locations. And before we look at the functions, let's scroll down to the bottom and see the order of execution. First step is we get the arguments via argparse. We pull out the module name and split on period in case this is a nested module. Now we can create the directories, and please forgive the extremely helpful lone comment I apparently thought was needed for this file. Then we can start adding the files. The ProGuard file is a simple copy of our template. The manifest file is a copy of the defined string we have in our script, though we also have to replace the placeholder with our new module's path. Next, we add the Gradle file. Here we also pass in whether or not we're using compose, and in our function we detect the compose section starting or ending and determine whether or not to include the lines. Let's generate a module each way and see what the end result looks like. First we'll create one that doesn't use compose. Now we'll create one that does use compose. This could be like a feature module. And we'll nest this in the feature directory. As we can see, the expected directories were created, and running a Gradle sync automatically includes these new modules in our project, since we're using the auto-include strategy discussed in another video. I can link that in the description if you haven't seen it. There really isn't anything groundbreaking here, but I've found it to be incredibly valuable, especially as I've come to embrace the very granular modularity that a large mono repo, which I deal with in my current company, requires. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you have any comments or questions about this strategy.